Good morning and welcome to your Financial Empower Hour. This is Jason Cryderman with Great Lakes Investment Advisors, and I'm here with my awesome co-host, Mr. Tony Schauer. Tony's over in the great state of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Here I sit in my office in Midland, Michigan. Tony, awesome to see you again on this beautiful Monday morning. How the heck are you, man? What's been going on over there?
Well, I'm here in beautiful downtown Arden Hills, Minnesota, and everything is wonderful, sitting high atop the Gradient Financial Metroplex in our studios here, having some fun and excited about today's show because we're going to talk about the biggest retirement mistake people are making, and you're going to go into how to solve for that. And of course, it's retiring without an income plan. I can't wait to pick your brain on this topic. But I've been great. My whole family, we rented a cabin at a park and in a woods, and it was on stilts, kind of on a slope.
Oh, really?
You walk in on a bridge, and then you go to the back of the cabin. There's a deck, and you're looking out through these super tall pine trees, and you look down, and it's like 50 feet down.
Really? Now, where was this at? Was this close to your hometown there?
Yeah, it's actually not far. It's actually in Farmington, Minnesota, and the cabins are great. The cabins are air conditioned, by the way, which I like.
Especially with the heat we've been having, right? I mean, I know as we talked on our last show, it's been really hot over there. It's been hot and humid over here as well. So, Emma, who works here in the office for us, she went camping this weekend, and she said they went tent camping, and she said it was almost impossible to sleep because just too darn warm. Too humid at night. That didn't drop temperatures, didn't get low enough. So for you to say those cabins had air conditioning, that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
A must. That is a must. If you want
that's the only reason we did it. But the what made it great, and the reason I bring it up, Jason, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers can relate to this, because all our kids are grown and out of the house, they were all there. And their significant others. So it was the entire family, all three of our kids, significant others, together in the cabin. It was great. So we went on a hike. We had a meal together. We played some card games. And, when your parents, you'll know what this is like when your kids are grown and out of the house, to have the whole family back together. Yeah. You really appreciate those times,
I bet, and I have a lot of the families that we serve. And of course, a lot of my listeners here on the radio, a lot of my viewers that are catching me on YouTube or one of my podcasts, you're probably relating to what Tony just said right there, right? I mean, they always say, boy, when you have kids in your life, like Amy and I, our kids are 19, 16, and 13. So we're extremely busy. They're all in the house except, Lexi's getting ready to leave in 3 weeks here. She'll be heading off to Michigan State for her second year as a sophomore. But we still have the other two in the house, and Lexi still comes home at, every holiday she can. And she was homeless for the summer. But what you just said, Tony, you don't know how many people I've heard over my life in the last 25 years of being a trusted fiduciary advisor for families that they say, don't blink. Like, take it all in. This phase of having the kids in the house and being so busy, it only lasts so long. And next thing you know, Tony, they just what you just said. All of a sudden, they're empty nesters. The kids are all gone. And so when you then find those opportunities, whether it's when they come back home on the holidays or like you did, Tony, when you're able to rent a place that the whole family, everybody can get back together again, it really, really is a special, special time. And those times are few and far between. And so I'm glad you were able to do that with your family. And when you guys do that, who schedules all your events in your planning? Like, does one person take charge? Does everybody kind of get involved? What do you guys do?
Well, we have a family chat text group, so we do
nowadays.
We do ask for input, but my wife arranges it. Like, if she finds the cabin, then she sends me a link and says, "You book this." So she really initiates everything, but she doesn't like to do online purchases or things. I'm more comfortable with that, but she finds it. She finds the deal. She plans it, and then she takes care of. We'll bring this. I'll do the shopping. Who wants to bring this? And so. I usually just have to go online and book everything once she's picked
organizing it up. Then, and you're responsible for booking it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I just show up.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's kind of like me. We pay for it, and then we're told when to be there,
Right.
what to do when we get there, and it's just we know our role, and we fit in very well, Tony. So you and I are a lot alike.
Yep.
Well, good
Exactly.
for you guys.
But here's the bad news. The good news is we spent the weekend at the cabin, which was air conditioned. The bad news is Friday night, actually early Saturday morning, AC went out at our house. And still
Oh
isn't back on.
no! Wow. So Tony, let me get this straight. So you went camping with the family. Well, you went to a cottage,
Yeah.
and the cottage, you said one of the perks and one of the reasons you booked that cabin was because they had AC.
Yeah.
And then you said when you guys got home, you found out your house has no AC.
Right.
Oh my goodness, Tony.
Yeah.
So when are you supposed to get this back? How long are you going to be without AC?
We're going to be without AC until Wednesday. They're coming.
Oh.
They're coming to look at it Wednesday morning, somewhere between 8 and 11 a.m. You know how they give you the window? They
Well,
can't.
that's a whole nother topic that it frustrates me. I'm sure it frustrates you and all my listeners and viewers.
Oh,
When you order a tech to somebody to come look at something, or a delivery from somewhere like Lowe's or Menards or something, right? They say,
Yeah.
well, okay, your delivery time is between 8 and 2. Well, logistically, can't they figure it out? Can't they narrow it down? I mean, think about if you or I, Tony, said, hey, our appointment when I'm going to see my clients, or when you and I are going to record this show, it'll be Monday sometime between 8 and 2. And so that puts both of our lives on hold at their beck and call. The timing of their just upsets and frustrates me beyond belief. But talk about upsetting and frustrating is the Tony Shore household has no AC from today until Wednesday. And Wednesday they're going to come look at it. That's not even a guarantee, Tony, that it'll be fixed.
that's the problem right there. Is
Oh, yeah.
there's no guarantee it'll be fixed on Wednesday. So I need prayers. That's a prayer request that our AC gets fixed on Wednesday morning, that they
Yeah,
show
well,
up promptly at 8 and they fix it right away. I think it might just be the thermostat, but
Okay.
I know the unit needs cleaned out, and we've had that unit close to 20 years. So
Wow.
yeah.
And how many times have you had to have it serviced or have anything done to it in the 20 years?
Probably twice in 20
Okay.
years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
We
20
should
years.
probably have it cleaned and serviced more often. But
Yeah, and I don't know a lifespan on those, I guess. I mean, I'm sure there's someone out there listening says, "Oh, those are good for X a number of years," but that's not my forte. But I would think 20 years, that's a heck of a long time on an AC unit. But well, Tony, good luck with that, because I know the forecast over here anyhow, it's going to be in the mid to high 80s really for I think the rest of this next 7 to 10 day forecast. So I imagine you're getting the same temps over there, and boy, being without AC is boy, almost unbearable. You might want to rebook that cottage and head on another vacation.
That's what we're like, man, I wish we could have just stayed there. That would have been great. Well, this is going to be a great show, Jason. And I know you've been busy too, but you had a good weekend, right? You were busy with the kids.
Yeah, we've been extremely busy. I actually had a golf outing that I got in last week with a buddy of mine.
Oh, fun.
This seems to be that time of the year. I don't get golfing a lot, but I usually get into 2 or 3 outings per year. So we had a benefit fundraiser outing this past weekend. And then I spent a lot of time at the house with the kids, with Lexi and Josie and Carson and with Amy. We try to do as much as we can right now in these limited times when the kids are home and we can all be together, because this week now kicks off. Josie is going to be a junior at Meridian, and she's the junior drum major in the band, as well as she's in cheer, sideline cheer and competitive cheer. And so all that stuff kind of kicks off. But this week right now, from 8 to 5 every day, she's at the Meridian High School for band camp. To get prepped and ready for this season. Lexi is actually headed off today back down to Michigan State for a week-long cheerleading camp because she's on the all-girl cheer stunt team at MSU. And then Carson, he's got football conditioning 2-3 evenings a week before they start their full practice. So it's been busy in the Cryderman household, as everybody knows. But Amy and I really, when we get to have all 3 of the kids home like we did this weekend, we try to take in a lot of awesome family time. Hopefully we'll have a couple more opportunities to get out on the boat yet this summer. But believe it or not, Tony, I mean, if you've been in any stores lately, everything in every store is back to school and Halloween.
Yes.
and it's way too fast, way too early. Here we are when we record this show. It's already August 3rd. It's the first Monday in August. I can't believe it. Within 3 weeks, all the kids are back to school. Josie and Carson start at Meridian on the 24th, I believe, and Lexi goes to Michigan State on the 26th. So then we'll be in full swing into school and fall sports. And
Wow.
I don't know where we find time to even work nowadays, Tony.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, I know you'll find time to meet with our clients and viewers out there. So if you have questions about what we talk about on the show today, you want to get that written income plan for retirement, pick up the phone and give Great Lakes Investment Advisors a call. I'll tell you what, Jason and his team there do a great job. They love to hear from you. So call 989-835-7203 for a no charge, no obligation consultation. That's 989-835-7203. And again, this is your Financial Empower Hour with our host, Jason Cryderman. And Jason, let's dig into this, talking about the biggest retirement mistake people make, and that's retiring without a written income plan. And talk about why this is so important. Where do we start with this?
Yeah, well, I think it's a big mistake. And a lot of it has to do with, if you just think about from the time you started employment, whether that was maybe, I know for you and me, we both talked about before we had our first jobs, before we were, 14, 15 years old, before we had our licenses. I worked at a little place called the Whippy Dip in Sanford, serving soft serve ice cream. I wasn't thinking anything about retirement, obviously, at that time. But
wait, you weren't retirement planning when you were working at the Whippy Dip?
No, I was 14 working at the Whippy Dip. I was not thinking about retirement. I know I was behind. I was behind the 8 ball. I was way behind.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, I was thinking about, hey, I'm making money, right? I have a paycheck coming in, and so that's when we start what we call our earning years, and I call that, that's your growth years, your earning years, and that's your accumulation phase of life, and you accumulate money for 20, 30 years, or maybe even more, maybe 40 years, that you're in your accumulation phase. And in the accumulation phase, as you and I know, Tony, we're in the middle of it right now, is we're trying to invest as much as we can on a weekly to monthly basis, right? We still got bills to pay in life, but we're trying to put away as much as we possibly can for retirement. And when we put that money away, generally in our 20s, 30s, 40s, even 50s, we invest pretty aggressively. We got a lot of time on our side. We're accumulating wealth. We're looking way down the road. So most people in their accumulation phase, they invest as much as they possibly can, hopefully increase investments over time. So you're putting money away, and you're investing usually pretty darn aggressively because you want long-term growth. And here's where the mistake or the problem happens, Tony. And I've been able to identify this for so many families and so many investors over the last 25 years, is that transition. When you retire, psychologically, mentally, physically, emotionally, it is a huge, huge transition to step away from something you've been doing for 20, 30, 40 years or more. And what we've found has happened, unfortunately, is a lot of people, they shift their mindset physically, emotionally, and they shift into retirement. What they don't pay attention to, though, is what did they do with their investment philosophy? Are they investing with the same philosophy? Remember, for 20, 30 years or more, you've been depositing, putting money into these investments. Chances are you've been using aggressive management philosophy. Growth. Chances are you've been using an aggressive advisor, if you have an advisor, a growth one, and aggressive tools in the investments that you invest in, right? You want long-term growth. Well, when you shift to retirement, a big problem we've seen, Tony, is people stay with maybe the same advisor, growth. They stay with the same philosophy, growth, and they stay using the same tools, the same mutual funds, the same stocks, whatever it might be, which were designed for growth. They got you to retirement, but the problem usually is they don't shift then their management philosophy, their tools, their advisors for this next phase of life. And Tony,
which is the distribution phase, right?
Yeah. So we went through accumulation.
Yeah.
Then we come into what's called preservation and distribution. So it's a double phase. So generally now you don't want to take on as much risk. First of all, you're no longer contributing. When you retire, you're done doing something you've been doing for 30 years or more. It's contribute, put in. That's done. You're no
Yeah.
longer contributing to these accounts. Now, let's face it, we don't have as much time on our side. In our 60s
Right.
and 70s, we don't have as much time on our side as we had in our 30s and 40s. So chances are we don't have quite the risk tolerance. We really don't want to lose as much now as we did in 2008, the last
Sure.
big stock market crash, because we were younger. We had more time on our side. We're still contributing. Well, we're not as young now. We're not contributing anymore when we're in retirement. So we really shouldn't be taking as much risk as we have in the past. And so we see that as a big disconnect that a lot of people, they just don't think about changing to more of the preservation, meaning, hey, I'm going to dial back a little bit. I don't need to be as aggressive anymore. I don't need to use aggressive philosophy, aggressive tools, aggressive, maybe even advisors. I want to shift more to moderate, dial back, right? We call it a little more, pull it to your chest a little more, right? Protect and preserve that nest egg you've worked so darn hard for so darn long to accumulate and save that wealth, Tony. Now's not the time to lose it. In retirement is not the time you can afford to lose that money. So you need to shift to more preservation-minded advisors, management philosophy, and even the tools, the investments you use internally. Because at some point in time, Tony, and a lot of people, it's right at retirement or at some point in time in retirement, you're actually going to start pulling money out of that portfolio. So that what we just went through there was accumulation, contribute, and then, hey, preservation, pull it back a little tighter to the chest. And then, you know what? I'm actually going to start pulling money out of this portfolio, which that's something not many people have done for the 30 or 40 years they've been investing and growing their wealth.
Right.
Now they're transitioning from wait a minute. I was putting money in and growing it all these years. Now I don't need to take on as much risk. As a matter of fact, at some point, and it might be immediately, I'm going to start pulling money out of this portfolio. I haven't done that for 30 or 40 years. It's like a reverse. It's a total flip. It's a 180.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
It's really hard, especially if it's just ingrained into you or the philosophy we're using. And a lot of times people they hold their advisor accountable and they say, well, and it's not the advisor's fault. I mean, if the advisor that you've been with has been more of a growth, more of an aggressive advisor, and you've changed from aggressive growth more to preservation income, it's not the advisor's fault. We really can't. I mean, they're probably doing the best they can possibly do. But if you've changed your mindset, you've changed your objectives and your goals, maybe it's time to change the advisor too and let them go. Don't try to hold them accountable for something. Maybe they're awesome growth advisors. They're just not maybe the best for you to be a preservation.
They're just focused on the market rather than retirement income. And it takes a specialist.
And that's okay.
Yeah. It takes somebody who really understands creating retirement income. And from what you've said, it sounds like it's not necessarily about how much have I saved. So many people are focused on that magic number.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really how much income can that savings produce? Because all these people who have been diligent savers are retiring with these big 401ks or 403bs, TSPs, or IRAs, and they have this lump sum, but it's a complete reversal because they were so used to taking their income and creating savings.
That's right.
And that's what they were doing, and that process is automated. But you know what's not automated and what they don't know how to do is take that savings and then create an income. It's the exact reverse, like you said. It's the exact opposite. It's a 180. And it's not, they're so focused on what's my number, what's my magic number, that the big mistake is they're underestimating how different these phases are, right? And it's like the old Mount Everest analogy. They're focused on making it to the top, but what happens once you get there? You got a third of your life yet to live in many cases. Yeah.
And a lot of people, that's a kind of retirement. It's like climbing a mountain, right? So you get into the top, that's your working years. Once you're at the top, now what? Now you have to come down that mountain. And if you're not prepared and if you're not using, trust me, it takes different tools, different mindset to go up the mountain than it does to go down.
Yeah.
And so that's a big transition that we've been able to help a lot of investors with. Well, how do we transition from growth, from growth into preservation and income and distribution?
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to get into that. We're going to get into how you create a paycheck because retirement doesn't come with one,
That's right.
and some of the tools to use there in our next segment. But first, I want to give away 10 copies of your book, Empower Your Retirement. It's a great book. Jason, you wrote this, and it's got a lot in there, including creating a retirement income plan. So I encourage our listeners to reach out. The first 10 people to contact the office to call into Great Lakes Investment Advisors will get a copy of the book at no charge, no obligation. We'll send it out. Jason's even going to cover the postage and the cost of the book. You've got no commitment there or no charge. So all you have to do, be one of the next 10 people to contact the office, call 989-835-7203. That's 989-835-7203. And this is your Financial Empower Hour, and I am talking to our host, Jason Cryderman. Jason, we're talking about creating a retirement income plan, and I know it's important to have a written plan. Now, retirement doesn't come with a paycheck. While we're working, we collect a reliable or predictable. We know what our income's going to be usually every couple of weeks. But in retirement, you're responsible for creating your own income and your own paycheck. What are some of the sources of that?
Yes, I mean, that's important to point out. A lot of people have told me retirement is like unemployment, right? I mean, so we go into retirement, and really it's like we're unemployed. We don't have a job anymore. Most people don't have a pension coming. If you have a pension, you're extremely fortunate,
yes.
To have that pension. But in the last segment, Tony, you touched on something I want to bring up again. A lot of people over the last 25 years have asked myself or another member of my team, hey, when I retire, how much money do I need? How much money do I need to save? Yeah. Is it, I heard it's 1 million. Oh, I heard it's 2 million. Oh, I heard it's 5 million. And I have to answer this question honestly to every person that asks me this. And the answer is the same every single time. My answer is the same. It depends.
Oh,
it depends. Yeah. It all depends on how are you investing that money. Number one, is it too aggressive? Is it not aggressive enough? It depends on how much income you need. What is your lifestyle like? Well, your lifestyle and how much you spend in retirement, that helps dictate how much you need to have, how long you may live in retirement. If you're married, what other sources of income you have, how much of your income is going to be taxed. There's so many variables that come into play that I really, I sometimes get frustrated when people say, well, gee, my number is X. Well, if that's the only thing you're focusing on is I need X before I retire, you might be missing out, and you might be setting yourself up for unfortunate failure. And because there's so many other variables to look at. So I think that's important that we got to really look at all those facets and variables. And first thing we want to look at is, I call it that budget, the B word. These are fun to do, really exciting and fun, and everybody loves them. Blah, yeah. They're horrible, right? Nobody likes to sit down and do a budget. Right. But if you want to be as successful as you possibly can be in retirement, you have to plan. And how do you know how much money you need if you don't know how much you're spending?
Right.
It's possible. So I highly recommend 3 to 6 to 12 months before you retire, start doing a budget exercise. Start tracking every single penny you spend, knowing that sometimes your expenses are going to go down certain areas when you retire, but there's going to be a lot of expenses that increase or you add new expenses in retirement. So I like to try to help people go through this 3 to 6 to 12 months of a budget exercise before you retire. Then we can plan what will those expenses do in retirement. Once we get a handle on the expenses, Tony, the second thing we have to look at is, okay, what income are we going to have coming in? I know I have expenses going out. They're daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever they might be. What income do I have coming in? What are my sources of income? If you have a pension, you're extremely fortunate. That's great. If and when you're ready to take Social Security, that'll be a source of income. If you're already 62,
it's a big one.
Touch Social Security as early as 62, which might be the best thing for you to do. However, it might not be. You may want to wait till 65, 67, or even longer. So again, having a plan, working with a trusted fiduciary advisor, a team that can help you go through all these real fun exercises like a budget. and then looking at what are my sources of income. When should I turn on each source? How much will that be? And then once I've exhausted maybe my pension, my Social Security, what other sources of income do I have? Well, that's generally when, Tony, you fall back on your 401k, your 403b, your TSP, your IRAs, your Roth IRAs, your any other investment accounts you might have. That's when we have to start going to those types of investments to provide you for that income. Mm-hmm. There's where the shift is happening, Tony, when for 40 years, 20 to 40 years, you've been contributing into all those accounts, 401k, IRA, Roth, you've been contributing, putting money in. And chances are you've been investing pretty aggressively, at least in your younger years, right? Pretty aggressively. Well, now in retirement, if you have to start dipping into those buckets to make your monthly, quarterly, annual lifestyle, pull some income from those buckets, you need to use a different philosophy. You need to use different tools, maybe even different advisors, maybe different holdings inside those accounts altogether. If you truly want to achieve preservation, meaning I just can't afford to lose 20 or 30% again, like I did when I was younger, because that'll change retirement. And I need to provide X amount of dollars per month. I have to get this out of this portfolio to live. Well, then you really need to start changing your investment philosophy, your management style, probably the investments you're using, maybe the accounts as a whole, maybe even the advisors you have. And that's okay, Tony. These are things that myself and my team have done for 25 years, is helped people do these exercises, help people identify what road am I on, where might I need to change, and how do I make that transition, that change? Because it's pretty tough, pretty uncomfortable to do it all by yourself.
Yeah. Oh, very uncomfortable. And that's where you come in. I think it is so important to get that written plan, work with a trusted professional. Now, when we come back, I have a big question for you about a lot of people think they don't need a written plan. They have a plan, they have a lump sum, and they're just going to take a percentage of it. We've heard the 4% rule. I'm going to ask you about that when we come back. But first, Jason, we're giving away 10 more copies of your book. Listeners, this book is great. It's called Empower Your Retirement. It has chapters covering things like Social Security maximization, future tax planning, estate planning. You cover retirement income planning in the book. It is very valuable, chock full of great educational information when it comes to your finances. Get a copy at no charge, no obligation. You don't even have to pay postage. We'll send one to you. Just call 989-835-7203. Be one of the next 10 people to request a copy. Call the office, 989-835-7203. And you're listening to your Financial Empower Hour. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore. I'm here with our host, the man with the plan, as usual, is Jason Cryderman. Jason, I have a question for you. What about the people who say, and I've heard this for years, I have this huge lump sum 401k, my wife has a 401k, and then I have an IRA, she might have an IRA. So we have those lump sums. We have a retirement plan. We're just going to withdraw 4% a year or 4% a month, 4% a year on a monthly basis. From our and these accounts are all attached, of course, to the stock market. Sure. What's the problem with that?
Well, I think that, and I get told this a lot, Tony, and I get asked this, right? Some people say, hey, I hear there's this, what we call a rule of thumb. And I believe Fidelity came up with this rule of thumb. Used to be a lot higher. It's 4% now. And some people think that that's stale and outdated, because it used to be about 8% when interest rates and markets were doing really well. Then it dropped to about 6%. Then when interest rates were close to zero, it dropped down to 4%. And what that means is, if you took out this percentage out of your portfolio every year for income, you should be able to sustain your principal, or at least not have to worry about running out of money in retirement. And that's when interest rates were pretty low. So a lot of people now think that should be bumped back up to 5 or 6%. But again, it's just a rule of thumb, right? It's just a rule of thumb. There's no science or math or behind it that says it's going to work if you don't do the right things within your portfolio. Because you're right. I mean, you could have $1 million saved and say, hey, if I pull out 4% a year, Well, that's just fine. I can live comfortably in retirement, and I'm probably averaging maybe 6, 8, 10% on my investments. So I should be able to do that. And the key word there is should. The problem is if you don't have a written plan that says, are you using the best tools, the best investments like mutual funds, ETFs, index funds, stocks, annuities? Are you using the best tools to accomplish that goal with the highest probability of success? What I mean by this, there's something called the risk of what's called sequence of return risk.
Yeah.
Sequence of return risk says if everything is okay, and if we just keep averaging 6, 7, 8% in the rest of our retirement life, we're probably going to be okay. And you know what? There's probably a good probability, 80, 90% chance that that'll happen. Well, most of the families I work with, though, Tony, they don't want to just if 80, 90%. That's like getting on a plane, and 80, 90% of the time, those airline lands their plane safely. How many times are you going to get on that ride to retirement? Like you're jumping on your retirement plane.
Never.
And they
20% of the time our flights fail in midair. You would never get on a plane if 20% of the flights fail midair.
You would never ride those retirement airlines. Never.
Right.
You want as close to 100%. I mean, you want 110%. I mean, we can't have a failure, right? And I tell people retirement, really, it's like that old song, One Shot at Love. And you probably, being a music guy, Tony, you probably know who sings that. I don't know who sings off the top of my head, but
I don't, but I know the song you're talking
about. One Shot at Love, right? Yeah. Well, retirement, you get one shot at retirement to be successful and do it right. I don't like when I run into people and they say, well, I was retired for 5 or 6 years and I went back to work. And I say, well, did you do that because you wanted to? And they say, no, did it because we had to. And I hear this, I don't know how many times per year, and it really frustrates me. And I say, well, why did you have to? And they usually tell me because I didn't anticipate the income, number one, that I would need in retirement. And when I did, I didn't change to the right investment tools, the right philosophy, the right advisors. I was still being aggressive. And the next 2 or 3 years, I lost more money than I anticipated losing in my investments. I couldn't support my lifestyle anymore. I had to go back to work. And that is so frustrating for me as a fiduciary advisor that specializes in retirement income planning. That is so frustrating for me to hear because it really, if you have a written plan, and it could be on a napkin, Tony, or you sit down with a trusted fiduciary advisor like myself or another member of my team, and you do these exercises, the budget exercises, you do the income exercise, you do the philosophy, how is your current money being invested? Because that rule of thumb, rule of 4%, it will work if you're using the right tools, the right investment philosophy, and you have to have a plan. And the plan has to be adaptable for change. I don't know how many times we've talked about this on our show, Tony, is you need to review your plan. Yeah. And don't be afraid to update, which means change.
At least once a year has to be updated, and it's going to change. And that's why I don't like that 4% rule, Jason, because I know earlier in retirement, the first year or two, especially the first 1 to 3 years, you're probably going to end up spending more. You're going to want to travel more. I mean, it's not a steady. You're going to spend more 1 year and less the next. That happens. Plus, like sequence of returns, I can't stress. I mean, what if people were just doing that 4% rule and 2008 hit, or 2022 where the markets and bonds were way down?
Yep.
Then you're pulling out from your accounts while it's down, and they're going to deplete much faster. That's what the sequence of returns tells us.
And that's where if you didn't have a written plan, and now remember, my motto in the tagline of my book is plan for the best, prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
Your plan has to say, okay, this 4% rule, the best case scenario is going to happen. We're always going to make 5 or 6%. We can always pull out 4 and we'll never worry about it. Well, the reality is, you know this and I know this. How about 1999, 2000, 2001? How about 2008, 2009? How about COVID? How about 2020 that you just mentioned when stocks and bonds were down double digits? If you don't prepare for the worst, if you don't prepare that your best plan is going to work out and have, hey, I got plan B, plan C. If this happens, we're going to deviate. We're going to change. We're going to do something different. If you don't prepare for the worst in your plan, you're setting yourself up for some form of failure. And so I agree with you, Tony. I don't like the 4% rule. If you're just going to say, oh, I could pull out 4%, everything's always going to be okay. You got to plan for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Exactly. And another thing is most people they focus on that total amount or their magic number, so they know how much they saved. Most people know how much they've saved, but
Absolutely.
not how much monthly income
Right.
they will have every month for the rest of their life. And that's the trick of retirement planning that people can't get around, and you need the experience. And most of us, our listeners, viewers, myself, I'm only going to go through the retirement process once, my wife and
Hopefully.
I.
I mean, that's the goal,
Yeah,
right? It's
that's
you
the
get one
goal.
shot.
But you
Two
go
to three
through it. But
times.
Jason, you and your team go through it every single day with people.
Absolutely.
And that's the difference. That's the value. You help people avoid making these costly mistakes, and you figure it out and plan. Okay, we're going to move some money over here, and we're going to have different buckets to pull money from at different times to make sure your money lasts as long as you do. Because one of the biggest myths I want to ask you before the end of the show, people say, and I've heard this, you've probably heard this, well, if I just save enough money, retirement will take care of itself.
Yeah, I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
So I've heard this for, like I say, 25 years. Myself and my team, this is what we do. As you mentioned, you get one shot at retirement, and you want it to be successful. You don't want to have to go back to work because you had to, your plan failed.
Right.
So you get one shot, but you're right, Tony. Myself and my team, we do this every single day of the week. We've been doing this for 25 years. We've been through the trenches. We've set up so many retirement income plans, so many preservation plans, so many wealth transfer plans over the years that's the experience we can help bring to the table. And that is it's kind of a funny saying when I hear people say that, if I save enough and I've saved enough, well, what the heck is enough, first of all, because we can't predict the future. We don't know what the future holds. But you say, well, I've saved enough. I got my number. So retirement will take care of itself. And I think unfortunately, is our head in the clouds there? Are we just setting ourselves up for failure? Because yes, we're being optimistic. We're thinking, hey, I got my number. I'll be okay. Well, yeah. What if your health goes south? What if something happens health-wise and all of a sudden you're throwing a curveball or a monkey wrench that income plan or that amount of money you had, you're going to watch it deplete a heck of a lot faster. And that includes your spouse's health, right? Or anyone in your family. What about, let's just say the stock market turns for 2, 3, 4 years in a row, which we know it could do at any darn given time. Yep. Were you planning that this number you had in mind and this income or retirement will take care of itself? Were you planning for that? Did you even think about that? Interest rates, right? If interest rates go down to close to zero where they had been for so long, people are starting to get comfortable with them up there around the 3-4% or so, and you think you'll be okay. What if it goes back down to zero? How about inflation? Let's say inflation rears its ugly head, even worse. And let's say prices of everything double or triple. Were you planning for that? So those are the things, Tony, that I tell everybody. Yeah. Again, it's the tagline of my book is plan for the best. Yes, you've saved your number. Yeah. Yes, you're going to be okay. Yes, you can do this, but prepare for the worst. You have to focus more on the unfortunates that could happen, not just, oh, I got my number, I'm going to be okay. Especially if we live longer and longer and longer, you take a risk of outliving your money. And the last thing I think that we'll point out is how much of your money that you've saved in this, hey, I got my number, I hit my target, how much of that is actually going to go to the government,
Uncle Sam,
of taxes when you start pulling your money out.
Yeah, it's a joint account.
That's a joint account. And not only when you're alive, when you're married and a spouse passes away, generally the income doesn't drop a whole lot. It might go down a little bit, but the lifestyle is still there. And the amount of money you have saved is still there, especially if you're at the age where you have to take required minimum distributions out of those retirement plans. But the tax brackets change drastically when you go from married filing jointly to single.
Yes,
whether
they
that's
do.
Your choice, or unfortunately upon death, I've seen a lot of wealth be absolutely devastated and destroyed in retirement when people did not plan, they did not prepare for the amount of their income that would be lost to the IRS.
The widow's tax. Yeah. So you're saying you need a withdrawal strategy, you need a tax strategy, an inflation strategy, and a market strategy. And that's what it takes. Retirement won't take care of itself. You have to have a written plan for these things. And success really does depend on having that written income plan. So before we go, Jason, I know you're offering a no charge, no obligation consultation to help people get a plan in place, sit down with them, let them ask their questions. And there is no charge or obligation for the initial consultation. Get a second opinion on where you're at, right? It's a
Yeah,
no-brainer.
absolutely. It's a no-brainer. I mean, and I've had a lot of listeners from the show. They call and they say, "Hey, I've been listening to you for a month or 5 years or whatever it is," and they say, "Finally, you said something on the show that just I do you mind if we have a 10 or 15-minute phone call?"
Sure.
Absolutely. If you have questions or concerns about what I'm talking about today or anything that Tony and I have talked about on the show or any other topic that you have a question, I am wide open, myself or another member of my team, to fielding a 15, 20-minute phone call with you at no charge. Or some people say, "Hey, a phone call is not going to do it, Jason. Do you mind if I bring my statements in? Can you do that second opinion that you talk about, that portfolio stress test, which is like a financial MRI or X-ray? Can you do that? Because I need to know what road I'm on. And I need to know if there's areas that I have opportunities to change to make things better, and potential problems I want to fix before they blow up. I need to know that now." So absolutely, Tony. I mean, I love the opportunity to help all my viewers and listeners. If you want a phone call, if you want to have an office visit, just give my office a call. I'd be more than happy to have the phone call or sit down here in the office one-on-one. There is no charge for that. There's no obligation. We will discuss at those meetings if I was to help you, if I can identify that I can help you, number one. Number two, you would want or need my help. Then we will talk about what that costs, right? What are my fees, and what would I do different? What does it look like to build a relationship with me? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But the first thing is get that second opinion so you know what road you're on and if you can make any changes moving forward.
Hugely important. Thank you, Jason. Listeners, that number to call is 989-835-7203. That's 989-835-7203. And that does it for today's episode of your Financial Empower Hour with our host, Jason Cryderman.